think we should have rented the Moda Center. I think everybody found a seat eventually, and some are ganged up, and there's a few laps available, but that's about it. Thank you for coming. Often I find when I have services for people that are in their 90s that they've outlived most of their friends, but apparently not. And thank you for being here to support the family. I understand that Betty was not really wanting a big fodderall. In fact, she wanted it pretty simple. So I'm not going to use my 3-hour service today, and we're going to keep it simple and short. Afterwards, you're going to have an opportunity to go down to the I had it here, just the Fairgate Estate for a time of getting together and sharing further memories. And again, we want to thank you for being here and being a part of this. And people have often asked me, what can we do at a time like this? We like to press buttons in our age where we just fix things just like that. But that doesn't work. But you can keep those memories alive. And as you meet with family, and I just recently had a lady call me from Manitoba, or Facebook me from Manitoba, where I grew up, and said that my dad, who has been gone since '99, that he had fixed her pump organ and actually got a part from Germany for it, and she just wanted to let me know. Guess what? After all these years, that's still comforting to know. Well, the psalmist put it this way in the 90th Psalm when he said, Lord, throughout all the generations or all the changing times, you, O God, have been our home. And some of those changing times, certainly she understood something about changing times. In 92 years she was here on earth, back from the days when the telephone was on the kitchen wall with a little crank on the side. Some of you remember those? Now you've got them in your pocket and they can ring anytime during the service. So if you want to fix yours, you can do that. But he went on to say, even before the mountains were brought forth, or you brought forth the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. For you turn men back to dust, saying, return to dust, O sons of men. For 1,000 years in your sight are like a day that has just gone by, or like a watch in the night. For you sweep men away in the sleep of death. They are like the new grass. In the morning it springs up new, but by evening it is dry and withered. Our days pass away, and we finish our years with a moan. The length of our days is 70 years, or 80 if we have the strength, or 92 with a bit more strength we could add. And yet those years go by so quickly, and soon we fly away. So teach us to number our days, to recognize how few they are. Help us to spend them as we should. That's good advice for all of us, isn't it? To spend those days that we have here upon this earth in a wise way. Let's pray together, shall we? Father, how grateful we are for family, for words like mother and grandmother and friend and aunt, and all the words that we use to describe those that we love, and today in particular, Betty Gendro. And we would just pray that this time together may be a time in which we, in this official sort of a way, we say goodbye to her earthly remains, and we're grateful that she no longer struggles in a body that was wearing out with health issues and COPD and the heart problems that she was experiencing. And we recognize that as a normal part of life, and yet it always is that which tears those that we love from our sight and from our involvement. And so we're grateful in a sense, and yet sad. And so we need your comfort, we need your strength, and may this service be that which would encourage and strengthen us. We pray in your name. Amen. Probably the number one song on the funeral hit parade, if you could put it that way, for those who are up in years, is a song written by a drunken sailor of years gone by. I thought you'd like to know that. John Newton plied the ocean and brought slaves over from Africa. One time at a terrible storm at sea, I should say, he got on his knees on the bottom of that ship and decided to turn his life over to someone who could run it better than he. And so this wonderful song, Amazing Grace, he says that saved a wretch. I don't like to be called a wretch, do you? But that's what he said he was before he turned his life over to God. And let's listen now as we hear this amazing song that is sung by Anne, right? And she's hiding back there where the keyboard is, but she's real. This is not a canned deal. So let's listen to her. Anne, please sing for us. So much. That's a special song for sure that I hear many, many times. There's actually 12 verses in that song if you sang them all, but we generally don't sing them all. But going through the difficulties of life, through many toils and struggles, is one of the verses, and certainly is a real part of life, isn't it? And as we think of aging and think of the struggles of life at the graveside this morning, as we placed her remains right next to her husband, who passed away and had a heart attack at age 59, and she lived on her own since then for all these years until she needed extra care. And the family said that the care that she got was so special, as she spared the last while at Fairgate, where the reception is going to be held afterwards, and they were so grateful for that place with the good care that they received. At the graveside, I mentioned about that little girl that wanted her dad to read a psalm, and she wanted to know which one, he wanted to know which one she wanted him to read. She said, read the happy one. And he didn't know which one that was. He said, it's the one that has yea right in the middle of it. We often see that if we go watch a Western movie. the priest or preacher gets up and says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil when my God is with me. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound to me like the happy psalm necessarily. But the psalm starts out with these wonderful words, the Lord is my shepherd. And that little word my is a possessive pronoun in the English language, if you can remember back in school days. And you don't have to teach two little boys that word, just give them one truck, right? And that word comes out. That's mine. That's mine. And for many of you, it's mine because of family relationships. For others, it's mine because of relationships in the neighborhood or with business relationships, as she worked at the theater for many years and so on. And those relationships are very, very special, and we can hold on to them as mine. But then he goes on to speak about, and I can't help but think of that shepherd word as translating it even as mother or grandmother. And the care that the shepherd gives for the sheep. My neighbor has sheep. I have cattle, and sheep are really dumb animals. I don't know whether any of you are sheep people, and I'm sorry if you are. We'll duke it out after the service, right? But when the Bible refers to his followers of Jesus as sheep, it's not the greatest compliment in my book, but it is compliment to the shepherd. Because sheep need guidance. They need a shepherd. They need someone that is there for them in special ways. And David said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. And the sheep will only lay down when their tummy is full. Some of us relate to that. Thanksgiving dinner and looking for a lazy boy recliner or a soft spot on the rug, either one. But we want that special time of having our needs supplied. He leads me beside quiet water, and a sheep will not drink out of a fast-moving stream, for if they were to fall in, they would surely drown. And so it's that extra care that is given. And certainly the grandkids find out about that with grandma, don't they? And what can I fix for you? And it's probably not liver and onions, it's something special that they really like. Probably mac and cheese, or my kids it was top ramen, or something that takes a lot of effort to fix, right? You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. There's that one verse that follows the verse that I shared when we go through the valley of the shadow, that speaks about the rod and staff, which are a comfort to him. The staff was used to get a sheep out of trouble, but the rod was there for correction. And I see a few gray hairs here, and some of us can remember woodshed, going to the woodshed, or our younger kids don't know about that, or cutting a switch. Any of you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, we used to call that loving discipline. Now we call it child abuse, and we build more jails for these kids that haven't learned any respect for laws and order and for adults that are in charge of their lives. But David said there's real comfort in knowing there's someone there to care for me. And I'm sure that as Betty raised two boys, there was needed to be probably a little discipline now and again. I'm not sure, but I have a hunch that would be the case. You prepare a table before me. I'm sure she did some of that too. But he says, in the presence of my enemies. And I don't know about you, I'd rather eat with my friends around the table, wouldn't you? Because it's much more comfortable that way. But I think what David was getting at is that even with a lion on one side and a bear on the other side, I can eat in confidence knowing that the shepherd will take care and keep me safe. Someone has said, if you want to know what a mother bear is like, just mess with her cubs, right? And I think there's something to be said for that. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in that house of the Lord forever. In the midst of life, I hear people so often say to me, as I've served for 35 years as a trauma chaplain here in the county, that they're in a better place now. And we know what they're talking about. For that better place is referred to in the Bible as a place of beauty beyond description, of streets of gold and gems on the door casings. And I'm sorry, ladies, I'm not much of a gem guy. I bought my wife a diamond back 51 years ago now, and if you have a good magnifying glass, you can almost see the thing. I was in college at the time and didn't have much money, but the thing still works, so I haven't had to buy her another diamond. But the other description in the book of Revelation is simply this, and that really sings to me. It's a place with no tears, no sorrow, no crying. We could add a lot of stuff to that, couldn't we? No heart issues, no cancers, no struggles of life that we go through here in this world. My son's case, no Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. In his wife's case, no multiple myeloma. I know mine, you know yours, and we all have them, don't we? Those things that we wish we didn't have to struggle with here upon this earth and have to say goodbye to those that we know and love. Poet has put it this way when he said, God has not promised skies always blue, or flower-strewn pathways all our life through. God has not promised sun without rain, joy without sorrow, or peace without pain. God has not promised smooth roads and wide, swift, easy pathways needing no guide. He has not told us we will not bear many a burden, many a care. But God has promised strength for each day, rest for our labors, light for the way, grace for each trial, and help from above, unfailing sympathy, and undying love. Well, there's a lot of details that could be put together of 92 years, and I'm going to ask my assistant, AJ, to come up here and share some memories and relationships that he'd like to share from the family's perspective about his grandma. And I always think that's so neat when family members are involved in that. So come on up here, AJ.
So I want to ask you for a show of hands to start. Please raise your hand if you've ever enjoyed Betty's peanut brittle. Good. So have I. I'm sure that a lot of folks around here have had it possibly without even knowing. Before Christmas and sometimes after, Betty made batch after batch of peanut brittle to give to everyone she knew. In fact, my brother reminded me that several years ago, around Christmas time, a family friend of ours walked into the U.S. Bank just up the street from here, around the corner. And after he completed his transaction, the teller asked him if he'd like a piece of peanut brittle. He took a bite, and he immediately recognized what he was eating and exclaimed, "This is Betty's peanut brittle." For those of you that don't already know, I'm Andrew, or AJ, Betty's youngest son's oldest child. In the days since Betty's passed, my brother Dan and I have been reminiscing and sharing laughs, tears, and stories about our grandmother. The following is our own recollection of her, but I'm sure all of you will have your own memories of how great a person she was that will leave an afterglow of smiles and happy memories. Aside from holiday treats, something that comes to mind when I think of Betty is her love of crossword puzzles. After reading the paper every morning, she turned to the crossword and would exercise her mind by reading each clue and filling in the puzzle with the correct word. With that in mind, I'm going to give you a crossword puzzle clue and see if you can think of the answer. Ready? One across, 4 letters. A device used to smooth or press cloth. I-R-O-N. Iron. It's a word that reminds me of her. You may know that she enjoyed ironing clothes, but the word iron can be used in several ways. Ways that remind us of her. First, iron is atomic number 26, and it's also a silvery white grayish metal. Betty was born in 26, but most of our memories, her hair was white in color. Iron also happens to be a metal contained in most coins, and she most certainly loved collecting coins of all kinds, from wheat pennies and buffalo nickels to mercury dimes and centennial quarters. Each time I happened upon a coin like this, it made me think of my grandmother and gave me a good excuse to go visit and give her another piece to add to her collection. Iron is also magnetic. I think Betty was too. From our family gatherings at her house for regular visits, watching ball games on TV, or nacho Sundays, or my parents and their friends gathering back at Betty's house after a day of boating on the Columbia River. She had an easy way of drawing us all together and back to her without saying a word. The word iron can also be used figuratively as a type of firmness, strength, or resilience. She was a strong and resilient woman. After my grandfather passed away, she lived alone for almost 40 years. She was a very independent person and never let her physical limitations slow her down. With the restricted use of her dominant right hand and a self-proclaimed hitch in her giddy-up, she learned to do everyday activities without complaint or self-pity. One of my earliest memories of Betty are her working in her garden, pulling weeds, picking blueberries, hanging laundry on the clothesline, and raking leaves. She was probably Washougal's best street sweeper, made sure to keep her corner of the 1300 block on C Street tidy and well kept. She learned how to bowl left-handed, play ping pong left-handed, drive a manual transmission left-handed, and was always up for tossing us wiffle balls left-handed in the yard under her empress tree, even if it meant getting hit with the occasional comeback on a well-struck line drive. You could often find her in the mornings, walking on her regular routes through her favorite town. And if she happened to be busy watching us kids, she'd be still getting her exercise doing brisk laps around the small circle inside her home. They say that lack of iron in one's diet may cause tiredness, shortness of breath, or slow growth in children. In a way, she was the iron in our bags growing up. If we were tired, Betty's Green Davenport was the best place for a rejuvenating nap, but you gotta be careful to avoid the nails sticking through the back. And if we needed some fresh air, she'd be quick to take us to Goot Park for a walk, or drive up to Cape Horn. She also kept us well fed with our frequent trips to the regular spots like Old Fashioned Maid, Top Burger, and Pizza Palace. It was Pizza Palace where we'd shrink her coin collection 1 quarter at a time, playing arcade games, or rat holes, as she liked to call them. And it was at the sports card shop next to the Camas Hotel down the street where we drained her purse of $5 every weekday in the summer so we could add to our own baseball card collection. She also helped develop our minds with puzzles, card games, states and capitals flashcards. Excuse me, and invoke our help on her crosswords and nightly trivia on dinner. Now, iron also is a type of golf club. Betty didn't play golf, but she made sure we got to and from junior golf at Orchard Hills every Wednesday morning in the summers. And we'd often be the first ones there. She was early no matter the occasion. Whether it was the Bigfoot Tavern for coffee and conversation, or picking us up from school. fact, Dan could look out the window every day and know class would be out in 30 minutes when he saw Betty's Ford Taurus pulling up to the parking spot at Dorothy Fox at JD's in the afternoon. She'd take us to our after-school activities, practices, and games, and if our coaches asked us to be 45 minutes early, Betty would have us there at least an hour early. Even as we got older and got ourselves to the ballpark, we could look down excuse me. We could look down the right field line an hour before the game and see her parked in her normal spot just out of reach of most foul balls, toting her yellow lawn chair. But it wasn't just our games. If she wasn't home on a nice sunny day during some people's kids. If she wasn't home on a nice sunny day during baseball season, you could probably find her at Lou Block Park watching anyone else she knew play. Now the term in irons is also used as a way of saying shackled, handcuffed. I say Betty was voluntarily handcuffed to the Kamasway Shoe area. She may have been born in South Dakota, traveled a bit in her younger years, though probably not by her own preference. She simply loved it here. She had no interest in being anywhere else. And whenever Dan and I asked her where she'd like to travel or what she'd like to see or do, her response was always the same. Right here, I can sit and rock my chair, look out my window, and watch the world go by. Why would I want to be anywhere else? She had an ironclad determination to stay right here. She loved this area and her place in it, where she could hear the whistle and rumble of the iron horses on their iron rails just north of her home. Our grandma Betty also loved to iron, or press our clothes, as she'd say. She really enjoyed it, so much so that she was even known to iron underwear and socks. My parents liked to joke about how Grandma Mamie and Grandma Betty would argue over who got to iron our clothes. I don't remember any arguments in particular, but I do remember them ironing almost every day. It's true, Grandma Betty enjoyed to press our clothes, but it was more than that. It was a way to help smooth out our day, crossing a chore off the list, and readying us for our days ahead. She smoothed things over as long as I knew her. She didn't want my brother and I to call her Grandma. She would say, "You already have a grandma. Grandma Mamie is your grandma." So instead, when we were young, we called her Nana, and when we were kids, we called her Nana, and as we got older, we just called her Betty, like everybody else. She didn't want conflict. She didn't want conflict among our family and was happy to be the one to smooth out any wrinkles in our lives. Later in her life, when she moved into Farragut Estate, she was taken downstairs for a meal where another resident named Millie introduced herself and asked Betty how old she was. Betty told her, and Millie was more than disappointed to learn that Betty was older than her, and she wanted to be the oldest resident of Farragut. The next day, Betty was led downstairs for another meal, and Millie introduced herself and asked Betty her age again, forgetting about their first meeting. Betty didn't forget. This time she said, "I think I'm a year younger than you are." That was Betty. Always quick to iron out the simple conflicts in life. Almost up, don't worry. She loved the people in her life. And she genuinely cared for all of you. Her family, her friends, her neighbors, the boy and his mother that always sat behind her at church, her fellow patrons at Joe's, Meter's, the Bigfoot, and even the girls down at the bank that were gifted peanut brittle every Christmas. She spoke of you all fondly and cherished all the memories she kept of you. I want to thank you all for being here this morning to celebrate and smile at the memories of Betty And as you leave today, I ask you one favor. When you get in your car, without the use of your right hand, reach over the steering column and turn the key in the ignition left-handed and put the car in gear left-handed. As a small gesture to honor Betty's memory, her strength, and her resilience. Thank you. And I want to just add that if you're joining us at Fairgate after the service, there's plenty of parking behind the building in the gravel parking lot. And at the church next door is a park next door. And if you need to use a handicap ramp, please feel free to park close. But for any of you that didn't raise their hand, haven't tried the peanut brittle, you can talk to Tom. He's got the recipe, and then we'll put your order in. Next Christmas, he'll be available.
I think I want to be adopted. Have a grandma like that. Nice job. My goodness, what a tribute, certainly that is. And that little poem that's inside the folder there, the afterglow, fits so well following that. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun of happy memories that I leave when life is done. I think that poem says it so well. We're going to be favored by another song, a beautiful song I can only imagine. Let's listen to that at this time.
By your side.
you so much for that lovely song. And thank you, each of you, for being a part of this time together here today. Again, remember the hospitality time at Fairgate. And if you don't know where that is, just follow somebody that looks like to know where they're going. That'll work. Thank you so much. And we're going to be closing this time in prayer at this point. Father, how grateful we are again for life and for the memories. Thank you for the wonderful tribute that was given by our grandson with some choking times that are certainly a part of the price we pay for the privilege of loving. Or it's someone else shared with me that tears are just love leaking out, and that certainly is evident in our lives as we think about a wonderful lady who lived and walked on this earth, who touched many lives, and even as we think of sweeping up the street in front of her house, that little touch means so much in the world in which we live. And we complain about so many things, but what a special thing to do something about it, even in a small way. And help us too as we go out into the world ourselves. May we make a difference in the world that you have placed us in. And that prayer of St. Francis of so long ago, Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there's hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that we might not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, it's in pardoning that we ourselves are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. So may the God who gives hope beyond this life, when we put our faith and trust in the one who came to give life, because of his death on the cross, if we put our faith and trust in him, he promises that place where there are no more tears, no more sorrow, no more crying. And so we entrust her into your care and keeping. And give us the comfort and the strength that is needed in the days to come, we pray in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, and we're dismissed. You're welcome to come up and take a look at the flowers and the picture up here, a lovely picture of her as well.